Hi everyone, it's Angela from Cloudfetti, and today I'm sharing how to make 2 miniature pizza charms out of polymer clay. So to start out, I've got a ball of some vanilla clay and I'm rolling that in between 2 stacks of 2 popsicle sticks. And then using a large round cookie cutter to cut out the base. And removing it off my work surface. So now I want to form it into a pizza shape, but before I do that, to remove the tackiness of the clay, I've got a little container of some corn flour or cornstarch here, and I'm just dusting that over the surface with a paintbrush, just doing that on both sides, and this will make the surface really smooth and a lot easier to work with. I then have a ball tool and I'm flattening out a circle in the middle section of the base and making sure to leave a little rim around the edge for the crust. Then to make it look cooked, I've got a mix of brown and yellow chalk pastel, and I have a separate tutorial sharing how I made this, which I'll leave a link to in the description box below. And I'm just going to brush this all over the surface, including the sides and the bottom. And this will just be sort of like my undercoat colour. Then to darken it up, I'm shaving off some brown chalk pastel and brushing that all over as well. Then to add some texture, I'm rolling a ball of foil all around the top, sides and the bottom. And then setting that aside to work on the toppings. And I'm going to begin with a mushroom, and I have a small ball of some really light tan clay and just squishing that flat with my finger. Then with a blade, I'm cutting 2 vertical lines across the bottom, so that it looks like an animal paw. And then just rounding off the sharp corners so that it looks like an umbrella. Next, for the meat, I have a light pink ball of clay, and for the capsicum or the bell pepper, I've got a green one that's the same size. And I'm just going to roll these into snakes. And then flatten them with my rolling pin before trimming off the edges to make it nice and neat. I'm cutting each one in half lengthways. And then cutting out little rectangles with my blade so that there's lots of little pieces. Then for the red onion, I've used the same method except with some purple clay. And then for some pepperoni, I've gone ahead and mixed together some red and brown clay to make maroon. And I've just pinched off a tiny ball and I'm flattening that with my finger. I'm actually going to leave it as is and texture it later because it's a lot easier when it's actually on the pizza. And then lastly, for some olives, I've got a tiny ball of black and pressing it really lightly. And using a needle tool, pushing a tiny hole in the center. And then to make it slightly larger, I've just put it on the end of my needle tool and I'm rotating the clay until it changes shape. So now I've gone ahead and made a few of each of the toppings, and I've set this aside while I work on the rest of the pizza. And for the tomato base, I'm mixing the rest of the maroon clay that I made earlier with some liquid clay until it becomes like a paste consistency. And then filling the pizza base with it. I've also made some cheese using the same method with some light yellow clay and just spreading that onto the top of the red, leaving a border all around the edge. And now it's time to add all the toppings. I'm starting with the mushroom first. Then filling the leftover space with the meat and capsicum. And I'm actually going to leave the rest of the topping to put on later because I want these ones here to look like it's melted into the cheese. And then placing in 2 eye pins, so one at 10 o'clock for the larger pizza and one at 2 o'clock to make the slice. I'm then going to bake everything briefly, only for about 10 minutes, just to harden it slightly. And then after it comes out of the oven, I'm cutting a slice out of the pizza with my blade. Next, it's time to add the face to the slice, so I'm brushing on some liquid clay. And adding on little balls of black for the eyes. And a teeny tiny little smile. And then brushing on some more liquid clay where there's some empty spots. And adding the rest of the toppings. I'm also not forgetting to dab the pepperoni with a toothbrush for that added bit of texture. I'm then baking everything fully using my package's instructions. And once everything has cooled down, I'm securing the eye pins with some super glue. And finally, to make it look way more realistic, I'm mixing together a tiny bit of brown acrylic paint and water just to make a light wash. And then brushing that all over the cheese and topping, so pretty much everything except for the crust. I'm trying to get like a light colour all the way around and just using a tissue to dab off the excess where there's too much paint. And then once everything is evenly coloured, I'm going to leave it to air dry. And that's all for this tutorial. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!